2-minute chat here, so before we
Oh,
start at 10.
okay. All righty.
Yeah, so I just know we got a lot going on around here this morning. So uh, we just had Mass. Lavinia's having her Catholic Way Bible study thing. We've got the ladies' meeting in the book club. So all kinds of stuff to start the post Labor Day period here.
Yep. Yep. We're getting back to work, laboring away. The school's in session. The kids are out on the playground. So uh, life's pretty good in the midst of all this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I know I just came over here from Mass. I'm actually sitting in my office, and I haven't been in here a lot lately, so probably if I start coughing, it's just a little dust or dust mites or something. Been
Yeah.
doing a lot of work remotely and through Zoom.
Yeah.
Yep. Zoom's been something special. I'm not sure if I like it or not. It don't get work done, but it sure does a lot of meetings.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have Zoom fatigue at this point, but it really has kept it has kept. I tell you what, if we didn't have this kind of technology, it would have been so different. During the shutdown and as we've been trying to come back. So it's been able to allow us to keep doing what we need to do anyway. Not everything we want to do, but certainly the things we need to do. So that's been a good thing. So anyway, so why don't we go ahead? It's just about 9 o'clock. Let's go ahead and kick it off. And Father Paul, you want to take us away?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Glad you're with us today. You've been catching our conversation as we're leading into the meeting. It is a pretty big day here at Christ the King. We've got the Catholic Way Bible Studies having a in-person session with social distancing in the church, and it's kind of a one-time thing, but they're zooming that out also by live stream. And our book club's beginning today. Today's the day also. I belong to a prayer group of priests, and we'll be meeting at 10:30. So in order to fit everything into the day, we're doing this program at 9 this morning. So glad you're with us, and we'll start with a prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, we give thanks to you for the way that you honor our efforts to praise you as we build buildings, as we build tabernacles, as we build places where we can worship you, as we build altars. We can trace that all the way back to the early days of Judaism, as Abraham was following God's call to go to a new place, to the promised land. And at particular places, he stopped and built altars and places for the Lord. We give thanks to Joe Sanford and his staff for the ways they help us to maintain and develop our buildings, our church, our total campus facility that helps us to minister. Bless us in the midst of this day today, that we'll be able to understand even more so the ministry of caring for our buildings and our facilities and our grounds, that we'll be able to, in some ways, perhaps even find ways that we can be of support to this ministry even more so. And so we pray to you through Christ our Lord. Amen. Well, many of you have seen Joe at different times at church or at the office, and even in some of our videos, as he's been describing some of the projects that are related to our capital campaign and doing that so well. And as many of you know, over the next couple of weeks, we'll be in a significant phase of life here. We'll be working with our church bell and our steeple and the bell tower. And there'll be limited parking. We're going to change the location for daily mass to keep everybody safe. It's going to be a pretty big project. So why don't you start us off, Joe? Just, describe the bell project, and I guess related to it is the steeple project, although they're not exactly the same. So if you could describe what all is going to be happening and why it needs to be done, and maybe some of the side adventures that are emerging with that.
Well, a quick follow-up from what happened in the past was, we found that we had the steeple was leaning up there a little bit, so we climbed up into the tower and past all the deep pigeon poop and bird poop and whatever else was up there, and we found a large crack. So we had the crack repaired and we found that the roof was in really bad shape, and then we found the tire was rotting out. So we've made a lot of repairs to hold it together until this period in time, which we start on Monday, to tear down the rest of the tire. We put up a new subroofs up in there. Inside the tower, once the steeple is removed, we have a subroof, and we have a hatchway put up in there that's sealed so that we can keep the weather out while we're doing all this construction. So the actual part of the copper tower that you see, the square part that turns into the pentacle, that goes all the way up to the crucifix, all that will be removed. Now the superstructure underneath the steel will all stay, and the bells will go out for repairs maybe next Thursday or following Monday. And it's a really dangerous part of the project. We've been preparing for it because it has to come down the same way it went up. It's stick built, means it's just wood, just like our house is framed, and then they put copper, lead coated copper all the way around it and sealed it off. And so the only difference is now that the wood on the inside is rotted very bad. And you can't take torches and any cutting tools up there to throw sparks. It's just not going to happen now. So they have to take it down the same way it went up, and it's a piece at a time. So there's going to be a man basket, and they're going to have a crane hanging on to parts and pieces of it. The biggest problem we have is weather. If the wind starts blowing while they're starting to pull this apart, you could implode it, rip it to pieces, and it could go flying everywhere. So that's the worst case scenario. And we're trying to have everything ready in case something like that happens. We have temporary roof patch kits ready to go. We have all kinds of safety measures. I put lighting up in the tower, so we got good lighting now. We got ladder accesses. We're getting safety gates, and they're going to have tie-off straps basically for harnesses for these guys. So it's really dangerous these next 2 weeks. Out of all the work we've done, before when we had scaffolding, the only dangerous part really was the poor guys that had to put the scaffolding up and take it back down. Mm-hmm. The rest of it, you had a place to fall to. These guys, it's a lot worse. So that's basically the dismantling part. That's the next 2 weeks. And as far as the bells, having those hauled out here, that's not a big deal. They'll do that in one day. They'll have them strapped, hauled out, and then they'll be refurnished up in Verdon. And they'll be brought back. Right now they're on AC strikers. They'll be on DC strikers. We've already got the new control panels, all the wiring pulled. Everything's done, ready to go.
What's the difference between those two kind of strikers?
The AC's a little slower response time, so the DC's more perfect. It hits and strikes exactly when you want it. So the sound, I'm not a musician, but apparently it makes a big difference to people that can hear the bells. When I hear them, it's usually not good because I don't want to be on the tire when they go off. So we turn them off. Sometimes we forget to turn them back on. And which is the switch is all the way down in the basement of the church, which is not funny. So you don't forget to turn them off. You got to go all the way back down. So we're putting switches up in the tower now. So that'll be an advantage to us. So that's basically
the things that a bell can get sort of worn out in terms of its spot where the clanger hits, right? And so they're like moving that around too, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to shift the strikers. If you remember the magnetos, the AC magnetos that ran the strikers were the big steel gongs. Both of them were ready to fall out of the Christ the King bell, the main one. And so we had those repaired. And I built a new striker for that one just to get us by. And so, yeah, they'll be rotating the bells. We're not going to have them polished and cleaned up. We were going to do the photo shoot and set it against that because it was just too much work to string them up somewhere and take shots. Mm-hmm. Plus the timeline. We don't want that bell or the tower exposed a day more than it has to be. So they're doing as quickly as they can, turn us around and get them back.
Okay. So now back to the steeple. When the steeple's taken down, then there'll be like an empty spot for like a week or two, and then the new steeple will be brought, and then that'll be put in.
The new steeple goes in after the bells are returned because the new steeple, once it's up, you can't get the bells back in.
Okay.
So any repairs that have to be done, the bells it's just like before, they have to be done up in the tower, and it's not a very friendly place to work. That's what Verdon didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So
there's like a prediction of how much time between the taking down of the steeple and the putting the new steeple back up. Would that be like a week's duration of waiting, or longer than that, you think?
If they can get the bells done in 2 to 3 weeks, which we're hoping, then that's when the tower goes back up.
I see. Okay.
We're hoping in October that we'll be ready to go sometime.
Okay. All right.
And it all depends on the bells when we get to restart. Now, Campbellsville, who's making the tower, will be ahead of schedule as far as we know. They're pretty good at what they do. Getting the tower here is that's a good challenge. I don't know how they're going to bring that big thing on a truck, so we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if
highway.
Yeah, it's gonna. I guess they can't do it at night anymore. They said they're not allowed to do that, so they have to do it during the day. And actually, bringing it through these streets, I know they've already scoped it out.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, Campbellsville down in like southwestern Kentucky, or a little bit south of Lebanon, that's one of the unique places around the country that makes steeples, isn't it?
Yeah, there's only 2 big places, and that's one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How you finding Verdon? And Verdon works with the bells. They're from Cincinnati, and Campbellsville's from the city of Campbellsville. How have they been to work with?
They're very professional, both of them. Very good firms.
Okay.
They got too many people sometimes. Like some people, you can't get anybody to answer. Well, Verdon's the opposite. They have like 15 people that's constantly calling me, and I can't keep track of who's who. So when you call somebody back, I can't remember who it was that I was supposed to call back about a question. So, but I mean, that's good that they got that many people on it, so they all work well together.
Yeah, that's good. With the bell, we were looking at the possibility of like a carillon kind of approach where we could play all kinds of numbers, but the discernment went a different direction, didn't it, to stay with a traditional kind of clangor, or do we have like a hybrid?
No, we're going to stay with the striker bells only. That was nostalgia that was chosen. The other option we had with the electronic bells, like I said, to me, I probably wouldn't have been able to tell the difference, but some people would. And so, yeah, you would have been able to do emergency distress calls and all kinds of things through the PA system up there.
Mm-hmm.
But so we didn't choose that. And you could have played anything you wanted, music, pop rock. Heck, I don't know what the heck.
Yeah. Well, again, the church being church, that's kind of, I guess, the decision that was made. With these projects coming up, what's that going to mean for the parking lot and for the use of the church? We've been certainly letting people know about the shift of the location for daily masses, but can you speak about that a little bit too? The parking lot's
the parking lot from the church side going into O'Neill all the way to the O'Neill exit on Providence side will be blocked off. And that will be because there's dumpsters, cranes, construction worker crews, and hopefully there's not so many construction workers that we have to park in the grass or on the street because of the school and everybody else needs that area. So this has been pretty well planned. I hope the schools are ready. That's usually where pre-K would dismiss out there. And so it's going to be blocked off for at least 2 weeks. And then there may be that opening time where it's all opened up again while the bells are out for repair. It gets to a point where they just can't work anymore because all the prep work's done. There'll be painting of the steeple, steel work, that'll be done. And so, yeah, parking lot should be off limits for a while, and then it'll be back in. And we could get the spots right in front of the O'Neill back for a few days. I don't know. We'll see.
But basically on weekends will be normal.
Yeah, you can't get in the church anytime this is going on. We'll have all the doors closed and we'll have signs up on all the doors, and that's Monday through Friday. And the reason is because they're lifting with 3 days of heavy wood and metal and taking chunks of steel and everything out of there. And it's too dangerous to be inside the church.
Yeah.
Also at night, while the thing's still being dismantled, a pop-up storm could come. So you don't want anybody in the church in the evenings either. It could come through the roof if something went wrong. So on weekends, though, especially the following weekend, we should have it dismantled enough that it's safe to be able to have masses in church on Saturday and Sunday. And that's the goal. Of course, if some new hurricane pops up and throws weather this way, it could sure mess things up for us.
Well, like we don't have anything else to pray for. We have that in here too. Well, one other topic, of course, it's great to kind of explore a little bit is, the pandemic has thrown everybody, for a loop, to say the least. And through the summer, an awful lot of work was going on to get ready for the school year. And what are some of the things that you and your staff were involved in to help us to get ready?
Well, when the COVID hit, to me, it was a golden opportunity. So we started pulling up all the long range planners and started finding work to do while everybody was out of the building and gone. So we got the hallways painted and lights put in and automatic stuff and hand sanitizers throughout the building. So we were working on COVID relief at the same time we were trying to get all the background projects done as quickly as possible. We put Ronnie to good use. He's a handy guy with woodwork. So we got painting and woodwork done all over, and Al came here. Don Pfister was here. They were doing all kinds of background electrical lighting stuff. And then, we were gearing up for we were still learning, in the first 2 months about how is this cleaning going to take place once everybody returns. So we bought fogging machines. We bought a Kaivac machine, which is a sanitizing, it's like a pressure washer that dispenses soap with a vacuum cleaner and blower and all kinds of stuff. And we can do a real good job on the bathrooms very quickly. So we were putting in automatic flushers in a lot of places. 2 bathrooms got completely rebuilt, and that's in the church, the one in the rear and the one by the cry room. We painted and did the men's Heman Hall restroom. Gym restrooms got a bit of a facelift. Gosh, I can't tell you, the church library got converted. It became a new classroom. It's going to be soon. So we had to put new sinks, toilets, basically everything in that one. And it's all automatics too, so you don't have to touch nothing. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. There wasn't a day we weren't sitting still on all this stuff.
Yeah, I know it's really been a lot of scrambling. Like you say, there was a plus to that in terms of some of the major contractors were appreciative of the work, and we didn't have anybody around, so we could really knock out some big projects. In addition, so that was the plus, and of course the negative was all the adjustments, to help the place be safe for the kids and the teachers and everybody. And it's been a very good. Again, on behalf of all of us, I commend you all for all the work and all the creativity involved in getting it done. Well, people have seen our thermometer with all the different projects with the capital campaign. How would you speak of some of the accomplishments of the capital campaign projects so far? There's been some of the things we've checked off. There's like the boiler and the HVAC and roof work and the geothermal. Can you speak to those a bit in terms of how they're moving along?
The geothermal's been going on, I guess, for 2 solid years. Catch you back up on that. Had I known what I know now, there wouldn't be a geothermal in here. It was in horrible shape. We didn't know. And we kept going and learning, and finally found out that the pipes were in bad shape, a lot of them. The system wasn't maintained. So it was an evolution process, basically. So right now, we're in good shape. We've got new pumps, new controls. We've purged the lines 5 times professionally, had them cleaned out. acid baked them. I mean, everything you could think of. And then we relined them. And this is, I mean, I don't know how many miles of line this is. If you stretch them out throughout the school, it'd go around Lexington a couple times. And then the wells have been purged out too out there. So we got all that in working order. And then we felt confident enough that we could start installing geothermal units. So we started the installation of them, and now they're on a network control system where the computers are, I'm sorry, people are rude. We have setbacks at night, and the computers are controlling all the church, Heman Hall, everything that's around here, including the school, all these new units we've put in. Now, needless to say, this is really complicated stuff, and it's going to take a couple more weeks to get all the bugs wore out. And you can ask the teachers, and they'll let you know that there's bugs with the system. They're freezing to death one day, or it's not working the next. But we're getting there. It's like anything. We're knocking all the problems out. So it's much more energy efficient. We're saving a lot of money when this gets done. We've done a lot on electricity usage. We brought a tremendous amount down in the last few years. I don't know what the percent is. I really don't care. I just know we're saving, and we're going to keep moving in that direction. So the geothermal's just about wrapped up. I'd say in a few more weeks, we'll have this thing under control.
Wow. That's great.
And then repointing, all the critical repointing, which is the stucco, the block work, the parapet caps is another one coming, but that's in control right now. Now we still have about $500,000 or more, maybe a lot more worth of repointing to do. The courtyard in the school side is really bad. You can put your finger, I shouldn't tell everybody that because they'll go do it now, but it's pretty soft in the block work. We have a lot of windows on the Heman Hall side that are fogged up. They lost their seals. There's just a tremendous amount of work to do. The parapet caps are in bad shape around the entire perimeter of the school. They're going to have to be addressed, which we're going to do. The plumbing in the school, the galvanized piping throughout is pretty bad. If anybody knows anything about the galvanized pipe and plumbing, they don't mix, especially when you hook copper with black iron and galvanized together, you get an electrolysis, and that's everywhere. We have a lot of cast iron drain lines that have already been replaced, all 6 restrooms during the summer. At the school, we had to rip the floors up and the ceilings out of some of them to replace some of the drain lines. They were cracked, and we had this constant odor, and everybody was complaining about the smell of the restrooms, and we could not figure it out. And a lot of it was...
Y'all thought the boys were aiming poorly, but it wasn't.
They still aim poorly. We still have that issue, but that's ongoing, but it's not the odor is a lot better now, put it that way. So we were fighting multiple problems there. So that's taken care of. Of course, we've spent a lot of money. Yeehaw. We went through a bunch here trying to get all these problems solved, but we're getting there, a little bit better shape every day.
Well, and the parish has been so generous, in responding to our capital campaign. People throughout have given in the deep way, and we're moving towards our next phase with it. And of course, our goal's been 4 million, and we're looking at generating another 400,000 to, because there's always surprises, in these things.
Yes.
Beyond the capital campaign, what have been some other unexpected projects that have emerged? I know this past year we had. We sometimes have snow days when school's called off, but we've had sewer days also.
Well, it's an old building. You can see all the sewer line work going on around this area. So we had our share. We did the front of the school sewer line. It was crumbling and dying in trees. Caused, most of the problems was the roots. Planting trees over top sewer lines or close to them or too close to the building. You know how I feel about squirrels and trees on my building. So that sewer line was repaired. It was a pretty good sized job. I didn't realize how deep it was, and I don't know how those guys did that with shovel and
steam shovel back in. That was 18 and 22 feet, some of those areas. Ours was just 8 feet on the front side. And then at the same time, the storm drain between the gym and the school completely collapsed and fell in. So we had to, that was right underneath the canopy that goes between the school and the gym. And they had to get a backhoe in there and hand dig a lot of that out. And that was almost 10 feet deep too. And underneath all it, before we even got to it, was electrical lines. And then we got below the electrical lines and there was the natural gas lines. So it was a real challenge. CNR Asphalt did the work, and unbelievably cheap. They're good old Catholic boy there too. He helped us out. So that was 2 uninspected this year. So,
Well, Joe, how could you, can you name the other members of our maintenance staff? You know, maybe a quality or two that stands out in terms of them, you know, people see them around a little bit, and just to speak a little bit about them be great.
yeah, James West is, he's, you know, been here forever. He went to school here, and he's taken over all the geothermal. I've, you know, just turned that over to him, and he's doing a pretty good job, and he's managing it, and he's learning how to do the software and the controls. And he's a background guy. Without him, I couldn't make it. There's no doubt about it. He's my right hand. Ronnie's getting there. He's really good at just knocking stuff out. He loves to just stay busy and get stuff done. And he's really good with woodwork. He does pretty work. You know, about all his stuff. He likes it to look good when he's done. He brought the grill in for us so we could have our brats Friday from home. So it's going to stay here now. So he's a good guy. And yeah, then we've got Kenway crew at night. They're always moving around, but there's one guy in particular, Larry, stays with us. You know, it's a big place to take care of. I think there's 47 restrooms in this facility. So if you think about trying to keep that many clean,
yeah,
you know, and especially with COVID, trying to keep them clean, you can't do it with just 3 guys. It takes crews of people to keep all this going and sanitizing the rooms, hallways, handrails, doorknobs, windows. So except for the windows on the stickers on the windows, never did like those.
So Kenway does the cleaning of the school at night, and then they do the school during the day. They have one person now that in these COVID days who's an extra from them to just kind of go around cleaning through the day, mostly restrooms and I guess most publicly used areas of the children. Is that correct?
Yeah, and also not just cleaning, they're taking the Kayak once or twice a day to each restroom, and they basically power wash the place, and then they vacuum it all up, and then it's blow it off, it's dry, it's clean. So that's every restroom in the school side. And then they take a fogger, which is, it looks like a leaf blower, but it sprays out a anti-chemical, I don't know what, I forget what the name of it all is. Anyways, there's all kinds of them, but it's safe. You can touch it, it won't kill you, but it's very effective to kill a virus very fast, and then it goes away. So they spray, we're trying to get up to 5 rooms a night and just spray everything. And so that way, when they come in the morning, it's done. Plus we have these ion air purifier cleaners that were put in each classroom for the geothermal system. So they're built into the units. So anytime the fans running, these are running and they're purifying the air. So we've got a whole lot got done this summer on that area.
You got a few key volunteers too, don't you? Can you speak of them a little bit?
Don Pfister is, he does a lot of our electrical work, the ground fault, emergency lighting, switch plates. You know, it's an old building. There's a lot always breaking or going wrong. So we created log sheets for all the GFI, which is ground fault interruption circuits, where they have to be in restrooms and outdoors. And he's been replacing them as they go bad. We have over, I think, 300 emergency lights in this building. I think it's like 360. A lot of them don't work, but they're not in critical areas, and we don't occupy the building at night like a hospital would. So we're just repairing them as we go along. Any of them that are in the restrooms, dark areas, PLC basement, they get repaired instantly. He's done some incredible work with, log sheets. Because I created, I think, 27 log sheets when I got here. They never had, from all kinds of things. And so he's done really, really good work to help us map out some of the electrical, where all the paths come from. No breakers here were labeled hardly anywhere. Nothing was labeled. So we got labeling machines. We're going through every breaker, junction boxes, switch plates, doing it all. Then we moved to Al Gadia. He's a right-hand guy. He loves jump in or do whatever. He don't care. He really has been doing our IT stuff in the background. We've been pulling wire, and he patches it in, ties it down, and does all the programming. The church now has 3, 4 Ethernet ports out there. We got 1 in adoration. We're putting in 3 new Wi-Fis, 2 very powerful ones. So Tim can do his video streaming, and Dave Hurl, whoever needs to video stream. And then we're going to also use it for security reasons, to improve. Maybe someday we can go up to where somebody walks up to the door and they hit a button and say, hey, can you let me in? If we agree they're them, we can let them come through. So we're moving in the right directions. Then there's Dave Lambert, who's, oh my gosh, super guy. He's taking care of the bell tires, making sure all the contract people get here and all the vendors. And then John Wagner's doing all our big contracts for the A1A. He and I butt heads sometimes on these contracts, but he goes overboard. They're just perfect, every little detail. And I'm just like, give me the quote. That's all I want to work with, So then there's Greg Megan, who does Tri-State, and he gets a lot of stuff done for us here. Gosh, there's so many people in the background too that don't want to miss anyone.
She works for everybody in a way, but connects with you all, of course. It's Carol Kesslin. I come in the office sometimes at 6 or so in the morning, just to get things started, and lo and behold, there's Carol. Sometimes. What are some of the things you've seen her been doing?
Anything that needs cleaning or fixing up, she loves to jump in there and do it. She's a knockdown, drag out person. That's all I can say about her. You better get out of her way if you're too slow. So.
Well, one of the things too, of course, is
I can speak from experience on Carol. Yeah, if you point her to a closet, you better be careful what you point her at, because it's going to get cleaned out. And sometimes you go looking for things you didn't want to get cleaned out. But man, I mean, it's great. It's like you walk into a place and it's like, wow, what happened? And she's transformed that. So she's great. And like you say, Father Paul, I don't know when she sleeps, because I've never beat her in here. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's good at closets. What I like too is she'll let people know if they're in the wrong too. She'll tell you, you're making
always with kindness. So
yeah.
Well, and again, we all know there's situational volunteers who are all over the place. So we're just grateful for all of that. Probably a pitch can be made too. If people got some skills or a desire or some combination thereof. There's always room for more. Again, we can't really do a tutorial with somebody who comes along, but somebody with some skill in an area. We can always use some more volunteers, I think, right, Joe?
Oh yeah. It's the hardest part is learning the facility where you can and can't go. It takes a little while to become a good volunteer, because it's just, unless it's all outdoor stuff, you can do a lot there. But with the school, getting the code and access. But we now have almost a complete wood shop. I'm working on welding, get us some welders in here, and we've got cutting tools, tremendous amount of tools we purchased so we can get more work done in-house by ourselves, which is really let these guys fly. Even the contractors come in and they don't have to run back to the shop. They can get stuff done cheaper because we got the tools here if they need them. So we're slowly picking stuff up.
I always say there's something about contractor or members of a contracting team who come to a church, and it's almost like their attitude gets a little more respectful, or they realize that it's a church and they want to help it to, to be able to do what we want to do, and they act like they're a little bit on holy ground, and again, it's not a radical kind of thing, but I think we see it with a lot of them, and I sure appreciate that.
Yeah, we try to treat them good because, you want to build that relationship with them.
Yep.
When you find somebody that's good, you want them back. So they like coming back. A lot of them, they prefer to come here, and they'll fight over who gets to come to this place.
One of the pluses, I guess one of the challenges of church is we work with committees. I always believe there's more pluses than minuses. And last night we had property committee meeting, and how would you describe again, we're all helped by our committees. How would you describe the property committee? It meets monthly, and it works pretty well, I think, in some ways. If you could speak to that a little bit of how that works as advisory to you.
Well, the property committee is, again, volunteers and people with skills and talents. And sometimes we pull people in depending on what the latest need is. And it takes months, to get going on a project. So on some of these large projects, so we'll pull people in and they kind of become members and lifetime members. So then when we come to the meetings, a lot of times it's just turned into an information meeting where we're just setting out the details, because everybody that's involved in these projects already knows what's going on. And so we're kind of relating it to the rest of the committee. So we used to have 2-hour plus meetings, and it was wearing everybody out because then you'd have to rush out and make all these decisions. So we started moving ahead and getting most of the work done, just like you would do with any other job. So our meetings are fun. We used to meet and drink beer before meetings and after meetings sometimes, and during the meetings. So I try to make it light, and we get a lot done. And it's fun. That's all I can say. It's a good place to be in.
Well, it's a position. Your job is, cleaning, making sure it's clean, the place is clean enough, and fixing and organizing. And a lot of the organizing is with the big projects and working with the contractors, and then there's the envisioning of what needs to happen. So it's, I think a lot of people see it as simply just keeping the place clean, and I think it's important to name those other 3 aspects of fixing things and repairs and organizing and envisioning how things can go. Does that encompass, say, the job description to a great extent, or are there more things that kind of stand out as you think about it?
Well, when I got here, cleaning was, really important to get it done. And when I realized, the closets were so full of stuff you couldn't move around, you go down in the air handler rooms, it was tripping over so much crap in all these rooms everywhere. You couldn't even get to the switchgear and panels. So we started saying, okay, we got to get stuff fixed around here first. And cleaning was always, trying to get it done. And I knew it was going to take time, but I didn't realize it was going to take this long to get it going very well. So we're still in the process of fix safety things first. We said roof leaks and safety was top of priority, which still is. And then cleaning has to be done because you can't have unsanitary place. So that's why we got Kenway in here to clean at night, to back us up and make sure that everything's done so we can stay during the day and getting all these projects done, which are in the hundreds. It's an old building, it's falling apart. So then we started saying, okay, let's get some projects going that look good. So we started the painting and cleaning and patching walls, and then we were going to do the Heman Hall, and we upgraded some of the bathrooms. And so this is, in a sense, cleaning. It's trying to make the appearance better. We worked on the outside. We got the parking lot restriped. We've got trees pulled out that were too big and crashing into the building. The insurance don't like them anyways. So, and Carol's been a fantastic help of making sure that the church is vacuumed virtually every morning. We have Kenway in there cleaning the church every night. We clean it a lot of times behind, whatever event took place. So yeah, it's it's a nonstop city block of 200,000 square foot of cleaning. So it's
Yeah. Well,
and
I don't want to go too far, Joe, but I'm going to get a little personal. You know, I know you've been an active parishioner at Annunciation Parish in Paris, and I know you've had a career in industry, and kind of doing some things, and as I recall, important positions, challenging positions, but also that called for a lot of time and a lot of emotional energy. Uh, and it's not like this is a walk in the park, but what led you to apply for Christ the King to serve here?
um, I don't know. I always wanted to work for the church. I'd been in industry for 35 years and fought with people and worked 36 hours straight constantly and just I was like, it's time for a change. I ought to give back to the church. I thought I could really make a big difference. And probably a big mistake, but
No.
it's probably the hardest job I ever had because I don't have like hierarchy of operations. It's just here you are, and you need volunteers. Well, they work full time too. So your volunteers can only work when they can. So you can't count on them during the day that much. And then you got to get people trained up so they can do work. So you don't have supervisors, engineers, technical people. So you're kind of, trying to get James and Ronnie to do a lot of work they're not comfortable with. And it's tough. I mean, we're trying to do the light control panel system for the church. So I got an Al on that right now, and he's learning how to do PLCs. So I gave him one I had, which is programmable logic controller. And this is what I designed and built the machines. We would take a machine. Here's, they'd give you this coffee cup, and they would say, here, I need 400,000 of these a day. I need a machine that can make those. Go. And, so you'd have to design a machine that does it all. And you work with the operators. So you're learning to work with people and here the same way. And you got to make things so it works with them so they can work with it. It's weird. That's all I can say. I just don't have any hierarchy of staff to work under me. So we got just us three to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a lot of controls.
I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. My style is, I turn you loose. I don't know that much about what you guys are doing, and you're and we just trust people, and at least my style is, and ask you to and so again the plus with that is that, you got a lot of autonomy, and the negative with that is you don't have much supervision, or you just go and do it, and that's so far it seems to be working great. I appreciate what you do and how you do it.
Well, we got good relationships. I mean, like Jennifer's been great. She's just wonderful to work with. She don't mess around. Her yes means yes and her no means no. You can't ask for any better than that, and she needs something, she'll get it to you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody's, and Katie, and I can't think of anybody that's, not helpful and helping whatever the way they can.
Yeah, it's and again, it's not like you're a semi-deacon or something like that, but I mean, you're like part of the church and part of a church staff, and we're all of us in some way have something in the way of a focus on ministry of what we do that helps people to worship, helps people to come here and well, as we pray in our capital campaign prayer, that helps Christ the King facility be a home and a haven for people who need a place to be, who want a place to be, and who sometimes are struggling and need the consolation that we can offer. And so that whole piece, I think, of helping the church to really be church is part of what you do. You, in a sense, sort of set the table for what the Lord is working with regard to us all.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when I was down in Annunciation, I used to work a lot down there, taking care of stuff. We were on Knights of Columbus, and then I basically abandoned those poor guys and came here. So it's now this is, it's a really full-time job. You get texts and emails all night long. Security companies calling. It never sleeps here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different, than being, say, a volunteer at a smaller parish, to be part of the staff here. It's still ministry and it's still, some giving, but it's also got a different level of expectations and all, and pressure.
Yeah, you got a lot of people. People need things, so you got a lot of needs.
Yeah.
But you do good at that.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, it's sure good to talk with you. How do you anticipate the next year going as we work our way through the pandemic and get out of it and kind of wrap up the capital campaign? We see some of the projects that we'll be entering into, through the winter and then going into 2021.
Well, we still have the baptismal, the church lighting, Heman Hall restoration, school front entrance. So we got some big projects still out there. Emotionally, I'm tired right now. I'm hoping we get a window to slow down for a little while. Maybe I can go visit my family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then I really like to start working on the interior and exterior of the parish, the whole facility, trying to make it look pretty. And it's probably another year away. I thought 2 to 3 years we'd be doing this, but we're not there yet. We got a long way to go. We got to number every window or every door inside and out, do it properly so that vendors and security and police can find the place very quickly. We still have problems with that. You got to do it properly. That's the hard part. There's just a tremendous amount of background projects, and security seems to be becoming a bigger issue every day. It's not just our facility, that's everywhere. So we need to step up the game on that. So there's a lot to be done.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah. Joe Buckman, kind of coordinates our ministry, I guess you'd call it, of security. But, Joe, you're a big part of that too, as we figure out the best ways to keep the place and the people safe. I think one of the things you're saying too is how hard it is not to get worn out sometimes, because there's a lot to do, period, and then added to it is the stress and the drama and the challenge of the pandemic and what that's calling us to do day after day after day. And it's a load. It really adds up for all of us. I think it's striking too that what you're saying is that some of the projects that will be emerging in relation to the capital campaign are things that people see. It's one thing to fix the infrastructure and to just know that the air conditioning's working better and it's more economical, but it's a whole nother thing to see a renovated and revitalized Heman Hall, for instance, or to see and hear the baptismal pool actually working and being able to take people into it, any time of the year for baptism. So, those things are on the horizon, and I think for us as a congregation, that'll be exciting to see and energizing for all of us to see those come to fruition. And again, that's probably over the next year or so that it's basically funded. A lot of these things are funded, and we're ready to go.
It's the time and the energy you put towards them now, and to do it right and get the cost down. Every project's a challenge.
Yep.
I just got that whole hierarchy of staff under me, the supervisors and engineers and everybody working on it full time. So.
Yep. Well, it's great. It's great talking with you. I'll just, in closing, share the story of Steve Sainer. Nobody knows Steve Sainer except, a few might, but he's up in Northern Kentucky. He's somebody I grew up with, and we played ball together when we were in grade school. He was a quarterback on our grade school football team. He was a great friend. Like I say, we went to high school together. And as it turned out, we went to the seminary together. And in fact, I don't know if I'd have gone to the seminary unless a good friend named Steve also was going. It turned out after a year that he felt like it wasn't his call, and so he left, and he eventually got drafted in times of Vietnam, and then even in that time frame wound up getting recruited by the Marines, not necessarily on his will, but became a Marine, and from what I understand, very, very effective in doing what he needed to do. He came back, and I think I did his wedding, and I think baptized one of his children or so, and off and on we would stay friends. And he's since retired and from his work, and lo and behold, in his retirement, he's become the facilities manager for a parish up in northern Kentucky, up in Newport. And again, I just sense that he's just living his faith as he's doing that. Because he always was a man of faith, always, dedicated to the church and involved in lots of ways. And, his family was very involved, his parents and siblings in the life of the church. And again, it's important ministry. It's important work. And, I'm grateful for Steve and his friendship and what he's meant to me in my life. And, in a way, he's kind of like, a great example of a good guy, and also a good guy who's serving in the midst of the church as, guiding the facilities and managing and maintenance and all that's involved there. Newport's an area where there's only one parish, and back in its heyday, it had maybe 4 or 6 parishes, but, the neighborhoods change and everything, but he's at a great parish and doing great work. So I trust that you're living in that same spirit, and, it's great talking with you today. I don't know if there's any questions that have come in, Deacon Tim, but if not, we'll probably wrap it up. And thanks to everybody for tuning in and pass the word. It's a good review of all that we're involved in, and not only what we do, but why we do what we do. So blessings to everybody. Have a great day today, and we'll just keep moving forward.
One other thing, Father. I was going to say, what's coming up next week? Maybe you are getting ready to say that, but
well, coming up today, we're on the advent of what would have been the Oktoberfest, so we're in that spirit too. But next week I'll be kind of mapping out with Katie and Jennifer and with David from the school where we are with our finances these days. It's a challenging time. And we'll be back on our regular time at 10 o'clock on Thursday. And we'll be looking at the financial status where we are these days, and just some realistic kind of talking and some projecting and naming the hopes and naming the needs. So should be a good program next week, and very helpful and informative as we have that dialogue. So again, thanks Deacon Tim for guiding us along, and Joe, thank you for all you do and for being with us today, and for staying with us. I know that probably while we were talking, there might have been 4 or 5 phone calls or texts about different things you might be pulled to, but it's been good. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Say a prayer for all the guys on the tower. It's dangerous work up there.
Yep.